Well, hey guys,
How about it? What's up, everybody?
Howdy.
can you guys believe it? It's Wednesday night all over again.
I know it just goes.
Almost like it's like Groundhog Day.
It seems like we were just here doing this yesterday, wasn't it?
I know.
It sure does go by fast for sure.
Wow. It's just strange. And we only have like what 4 more weeks, and that's going to be a whole year, one solid
know.
year
Can you believe that?
of doing
I still
this.
I
can't believe
know.
that.
And Stan on there says 44 days until Hive Life, but who's counting? Hive Alive, but who's Hive Life? Hive Life,
Oh
yeah,
my
but who's
gosh.
counting?
Look at that.
44 days.
I'm not counting.
Oh man.
It's going to be
Wow.
here before we know it. Time, and then we'll be
Yeah.
just like busting into colonies and just trying to stay ahead and keep up with the bees before we know it. It's crazy.
That's it. Yeah.
Do you guys actually foresee any kind of a winter break?
You mean for the bees?
For you
With
guys and the bees? Yeah.
I mean, it's a break, but it's not, I've got other stuff to do for sure. I'm backing off on actually, getting into colonies, but there's plenty of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's actually dealing with the bees themselves or trying to get equipment figured out and ready to go and stuff like that. I've got a lot. I haven't really done anything with that at all. I've got to start doing some of that for sure here real soon.
I'm like entirely removed from that conversation there because seeing how I'm just that hobbyist kind of person, the amount of equipment that I have to get ready is like this much as compared to the, volume of equipment that the two of you have to worry about.
Well, now you're just bragging, Brian.
Well, no, that's just more time that I get to drive down to Nature's Image Farm and build walls.
Oh man. Yeah. that's a fact. There's all gonna be
Yeah,
oof,
build walls.
I'm whipped. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
So
So hashtag Brian20. I see it.
That's it. That's what I've been. I think that's what we need to settle on for now. That's the first, step, and then it'll be hashtag Brian 40 when he doubles
No.
again.
mhm.
We'll start off with 20 though. Let's let him try to get to 20 in the next year or two, and then we'll go from there.
Well, how the colonies look right now, if, even if I have 8 of them come out of the winter, you split each one into 3, and then you're at 24, right like that.
You better might have to sell some nukes off, Brian, just so you can stay to your stick to your number there.
Yeah, I'll probably when I'm down at the learning yard, I'll say, hey, do you want a free nuke? Drive up to Northeast Ohio, I'll give you bees.
Oh man. Well, that's a good problem to have more bees than you fit your goals and fit your context, and that's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah.
With the way this winter is looking, though, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but it's seemingly going to be more catastrophic than it was last year for a lot of folks, and I'm already getting reports from folks that are stopping by the shop to take a look at those new cordless Insta vapes that we got in from Larabi's, or to pick up some Hive Alive fondant. A lot of folks are talking about, hey, we everything was going good, the bees were doing great. We kind of got a little lackadaisical throughout the summer, and then fall kind of came, and then we went from like 0 and 1 mite counts in the summer to like 10, 12, 15%, when they checked them on them next, and they're trying to get the ship kind of course corrected and turned back around. And it's a challenging conversation to have with somebody when they know that, oh man, I kind of dropped the ball here on my mite monitoring or my IPMs, and here we are this late in the year. Now what do we do? It's like, oh boy. But I think that's the name of this stream tonight, isn't it? Is Winter Preparedness Continued.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said IPM, because I sat last 2 days that I've gone through material for that beekeepers program that I signed up for. What do you think they were covering?
For IPMs,
IPM, Varroa
Integ-
management.
integrated pest management. Yeah.
Yep. So
Stan here's got a comment. What's the woolly moth saying this week? Well, Stan, the woolly worm is right on track. The woolly worm is going into the brown, which today it was 52 degrees or something, just silly. The bees were out flying everywhere. I came off the heels of it being 8 degrees. Let's see, was it yesterday morning? We finally got all the last of our chickens butchered yesterday, and it was 8
oh, wow.
degrees the night before. So it's gone from
My
8
gosh.
degrees to 52 in like a 30 some hour stint. So now, according to the woolly worm, it's going to be brown and mild for a little while longer. So when I look at the forecast, it's exactly what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So what's it saying for the week of hive life?
Let me actually
extrapolate it out 6 weeks.
Believe it or not,
so.
hey, this, you know what? One actually came right in the office here, and it's actually on the floor, and it is saying exactly what everyone else is. Let me reach on there and see if I can get them.
All right.
All right. All right. I want to see this because if that thing says snowstorm, I ain't going.
Yeah, man, that was crazy last year for you guys. I got there just in front of it, but man.
Yeah.
I'm glad that morning I was gonna just get up, sleep in a little bit, and get there like later on in the afternoon. But that morning, my wife said, "Hey, do you know there's a storm coming through, and you might want to go ahead and get going?" And so I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay." And then I actually looked at the radar. She showed me the radar or something. Anyway, after she told me that, I got up and looked. Somehow I decided to leave, and I was going in right as that joker was following me in. I got in a little bit of snow flurries going over the hills into Sevierville, and boy, you guys got hammered trying to get in there later in the day. So what does that mean? Interpret for us, Greg.
Brown
like
on there.
6 weeks from now. 6 weeks from now, what are we going to be doing? 44 days from now. What's
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to put us right about. Let's see. You probably can't tell.
We're not on the black. Please tell me we're not on the black.
Nope, backwards. Nope, we're going to be
just before it.
Yeah, let's see. This is scientific. Let's see. It should be.
This is scientific beekeeping right here.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 6th week right here.
Oh, we're going to be right in the middle of the brown means mild. Brown means more mild, right?
Yep. And so I'm not sure how that actually plays out for hive life, because if it's ice, that's going to be horrific.
Well, but if brown is mild, then it wouldn't be ice, would it?
No, brown means ice. Brown means moisture. Brown means wet. Snow. When it's black, that means cold, which means if we have precipitation, then we have snow, which is good. We want it to be as black as possible, and as cold as possible. That way the bees stay in torpor. They're not breaking cluster. When it's in the brown, it is no man's land, because that's where the roller coasters are. That's where we have the warm days and cold nights.
Three Boys B says that's not a Tennessee woolly worm, so that's good. It's an Ohio weather worm. Maybe it's different in Tennessee.
Hey, that's
a good point.
It is a good point.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not anything like last year. I mean, it just, I know that storm was, it just wreaked havoc, across.
Yeah, it was crazy. But still, so many people didn't turn around, or they went ahead and came anyway. So it was pretty amazing that people just showed up anyway.
After as bad as that was,
that was a testament to the group of people that are going to show up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can be real worried, after we drove through what we did with a dually and a cargo trailer to get there. I mean, I'm not real worried. Ice is the worst thing, because there's nothing you're going to do.
Look at that.
Matt and Sarah, they're almost all black here. That's good for them.
That is so interesting. I never ever knew about that until you did your video, Greg. And it's true, because where they're at, it's going to be cold, bitter cold all winter probably. So that's just crazy. I guess they have them around here. I've never paid attention to what they look like though.
I tell you what, a lot of old timers do as a way to confirm the woolly worm. I don't have any in my neck of the woods here, but they'll actually grab a persimmon seed. So they'll snag a persimmon fruit that's still probably on, or just starting to fall off the trees, but they'll split that persimmon seed, and it'll be the shape on the inside will be like a knife, a fork, or a spoon. So a knife is like it's going to be so cold you can cut it with a knife. I think let's see, a spoon, you're going to be shoveling snow out. And then a fork means the weather's going to be so bad, you're going to be, I guess, feeding hay hard.
Wow.
So
interesting. Crazy.
Yeah.
Stan's asking when we're going to be getting there. Stan, I'm going to get there on Thursday, is when I'm planning on getting there. Thursday, I think they're having an event. Aren't they doing something like a meet and greet Thursday evening at the Hive Life? And
I think from 5 to 8.
And so I'll be there and hopefully in plenty of time for that. But today I ask off for work Thursday and Friday, so I'll be there for sure. Looking forward to it, man. This is going to be nuts. We're going to have, didn't they say 1,800 people, or is that total with the vendors?
1,750, and then there were, I guess there's 50 youth, so 1,800. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of people. Yeah.
Somebody said about the woolly worms, they're red in Alabama.
There's going to be more people at Hive Life than there is at an Alabama football game. That's going to be crazy for you, Bruce.
Yeah, I guess so. You say so. Wait till Saturday and turn that TV on when Alabama's playing Auburn, and you'll see that is not true.
You're going to get confused on which A team to root for.
No, it'll never happen. My daughter is at Auburn, but she still pulls for Alabama. She hasn't been to a football game up there or anything,
Yeah. S&J Honey, I see quilt boxes are finally on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
man, this is awesome. We got 80 people in here basically, and we're just getting started, and we appreciate everyone for being on here.
What are we teasing tonight, Bruce? We have a little bit of a tease for later, don't we?
Yeah, we got something we're gonna kind of unveil a little bit later on. Something hopefully everybody will like it. We're pretty excited about it. Something new and very new. And so what maybe about just after a little while we're going to show that and let everybody see what it is. Excited about it. It's been kind of fun working on it.
We're teasing something. Let me see here.
Wickershire project. Catch up, man. Greg and Brian got you on the beard.
Oh wow.
Man, I just can't. I just can't stand it. I get about 3-4 days worth and I got to shave it off. I just don't like it. My son's got it. My son looks like a mountain man. He's got long hair and it looks like Grizzly having a big old beard, and I can't do it. I just don't like it. I never have grown a beard more than about a week at a time. This is the most I've ever gotten, maybe 2 at the most, and I got to get it off of there. It's just I probably look better with when it cover up this, the double chin and stuff. It'd cover that up, but the
old saying is a man who wears a beard has what was that?
What was that?
I don't know. That was one of those one of those little
glitch in the matrix there, Brian.
This little flash. What do they call that? A little flash like in the music they used to have. Anyway.
Oh man. Well, they say that a man who wears a beard has something to hide. So I know for me it's a double chin. Sometimes
if I had a beard, that's exactly what it would be. This big old.
Oh wow! Look at that, Mr. Stepler.
What's reindeer to you guys in the background? Nice. That's cool.
That's awesome. My one buddy I work with sent me a picture. He lives up in Mentor, Ohio, like east of Cleveland. He had an 8-point standing in his backyard, literally like 5 feet off of his dog's running. The dog is sitting there in the yard looking at it, and the deer's looking at his dog. And he said, you're not allowed to do anything up in Mentor. He said, I just had to sit there and just stare at this thing. And he bow hunts, So I'm like, oh, I'd have plucked an arrow at it.
Oh, with all the kids here, it's going to be gun season opens. Of course, on the Monday after Thanksgiving. It's been so nuts here. We haven't really had time to do any bow hunting, but we should take a bet here. Which part is Ian cutting up right now? I bet he's in there and just meticulously pulling those back straps out, cutting them into nice, beautiful medallions and butterflying those rascals, stacking those all together.
If Ian was a true friend of the stream team, he would save some back straps and bring them down to Sevierville. And, when we all get together and we're all chatting, just, you could hear those things simmering when you just throw them right on. We'll get a good fire going and just, you could hear that backstrap sizzling. That would be a good friend, wouldn't it?
That would be. but I've never had a friend yet. I don't think that saved backstraps for me, so I can't see Ian saving them for us.
Yeah.
That'll be quite a lot of work. That'd be
That's
a lot of
awesome.
work.
Yeah.
There's Bambi is not safe right now, is he? Is he? Bambi's
No,
going to get hammered
no.
down here
Mm-mm.
quite a bit for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bambi has to flee.
Yeah. See, well,
Yeah.
until he gets caught in some crossfire somewhere. But anyway,
Right.
Well,
I'm not a big hunter, but I totally am cool with those who are. That's fine. But that's just not really my thing that much.
Yeah.
It's just never been my thing.
Well, through my last years with work, it kind of teetered out. I wasn't able to do as much, but whenever I did, I'd make the deer jerky and the kids would just devour it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I'd have one batch done and another batch going. And by the time the second batch was done, they would have wiped out the first batch. And I look at the container, I'm like, where the heck did the jerky go? And they're like, we ate it. So yeah,
I think we need a whole night of just hunting talk. I could go on and on. I will say, just before I jumped on here, I was working on editing the video from being out there in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with Jeff Johnson at Premier. So that was pretty cool. It's fun to go,
nice.
Hunt somewhere different, and especially get to hunt pheasant, and then you record an interview, and then you get back to life, and then to revisit again. I think it's a lot of fun to revisit those moments. So I've got that one wrapped up. That ought to come out pretty soon too. An interview with
awesome.
Jeff Johnson, digging into the new Pura line, the Pura Hive bodies, Pura frames, and Pura cell foundations. So that'd be pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Should I tease something else here? Should we take like a 10-second look at it?
10 second?
Which
is this like one? A 10 Mississippi? Like, or is it one Alabama, or is it one Mississippi?
Right.
Or
look at that.
Hey guys, what do y'all think of that?
Look at that.
Look at that.
What do you think of the new logo? We I guess it's official now. We have a logo.
Right. Yeah. What do you guys think of that?
We have a logo. Yep.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think, everybody. We're going to be having some stuff, doing some things with this logo. You'll see it around a little bit, hopefully, and put a little work into this last couple of weeks. So it's kind of exciting for us, taking the next step.
Kind of made me look younger. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I didn't get any uglier. That's good.
Right. Yeah. Bruce is.
You know what? My favorite feature of this thing is the bee, though. I love that little bee in there.
Oh yeah,
that's fun.
The bee, with the microphone. Yeah. That's nice there. Bruce, your hat got an upgrade. Looks like.
Yeah. So did yours. No, just kidding.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, guys.
Let me throw the other one up here real quick, and we'll tease up that one also. There we go.
Oh yeah.
This is more for the stickers and stuff like that.
Yep.
So
tattoos. Brian's going to be giving Stream Team tattoos with that.
Yeah.
Right from the Nature's Image Farm booth. What's it? $6 for a tattoo, Brian? Is that what you're doing?
I think so.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I mean, I can't guarantee that the lines are going to be.
Are they going to be real tattoos, or is it going to be those little stick-on ones you just put on there?
We could do those stick-on things. Yeah. Matt, I don't like you for that comment.
Brian needs more gray hair. Look at Brian.
Look at
that.
When they developed this, they originally had white hair on me, so I'm like, no, we got to have salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, it looks good. It looks good.
Good deal.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Be fun to use that logo and for all the things and all the places.
Yeah, we're just kind of looking. We're getting started with this thing on this journey still, and we got to figure out, now where to go from here. But anyway, so why don't we talk some bees, guys? What was the topic tonight, Brian? Walk us through what you want to do, man.
Well, I tell you, I know last week we didn't even. I mean, we could have just kept on going with the getting things ready for the winter, but I think I'm about squared away. My last trip it was such a warm day that I decided to travel down to Nature's Image Farm, and I think, what was it, upper 20s that day. I think
Oh,
it hit.
beautiful, wasn't it?
It was a wonderful day. Yeah. I picked up the last, I think, pieces of equipment that I needed, and that was 5 shims to go on my. Um, 4 of them went on the insulated inner covers, and they fit. Greg, they fit perfect,
Nice.
perfect. So just raised it up enough that my lid doesn't really wobble, because before, with that fondant patty that I had on there, um, it wasn't really secure. So when the wind would blow, I'd go into the apiary and they'd all be tilted up, and that's just not good. So now they're pretty solid now, but I tell you what, I guarantee I'm going to run into a problem um, with fondant. I know I'm probably going to need another case of fondant come February or so, just how the winter looks, because they're already just smashing it. And I plan on, I meant to go check on the colonies today, but they are just, annihilating it. I looked at the 2 colonies at the farm, and they had probably, I'd say, a 5-inch round circle chewed out of that thing already.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, okay, girls, do you want to slow up? Or, now they had weight on them. Those colonies had a lot of weight on them. So my thought was, let them eat the candy, and let them save their liver and onions for later in the year. I don't care. If they're eating that, it's fine. They're not clustered up tight. Let them eat it. Rather have them eat that. But that's, I think for my winter, that's about where I'm at. Equipment wise, I got to make decisions, and that's have another month or so for that.
Yeah.
But what at the Nature's Image farm, I know you guys have you're doing Hive Alive this year. Have you gotten fondant on? When are you looking to put fondant on?
The problem is not to get it on, is to make sure we've got it for the whole season, because just like you mentioned there, these warm snaps, they end up just destroying whatever extra food that they do have on top. So
Yeah.
So that's part of our plan this year, is to make sure that we keep fondant on from about this time right now. I've been kind of waiting just a little bit to get it on everything, but once that's on, it'll stay on until probably, until the maples bloom, and then once the maples bloom, um, there's going to be enough pollen and nectar coming in where I probably won't need a whole lot of that. But I
Yeah.
tell you what really has me interested in the Hive Alive fondant versus any other supplements or nutritional boosts is the thymol, number one, but also the packaging. Sometimes we have to weigh out the price of a product, and then what we gain as far as time goes.
Right.
You know, ideally, it would be nice if we were in a climate where it was so cold, where the bees just kind of stay huddled up and they do their thing and they break and eat and they break and eat and they just kind of go through that slower, and we don't have to worry about supplemental feeding or insurance feeding.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that yes, it is definitely an investment, but the fact that it does have thymol going for it, I think, is a big deal. To help keep their gut clean as they are not only processing the fondant but the honey as well. And so I'm looking forward to seeing just how they kind of react and how vibrant they are coming in the spring with a little bit healthier of a gut biome. Um, and to get them
Now,
cleaned up in the spring, I think, is going to be a big deal too.
have you ever, but besides your Pro Suite, have you ever used a type of a supplement like Hive Alive on your colonies?
I've pretty much stayed with dry sugar for all
Okay.
these years, and I've got um, I went through maybe 300 gallons of Pro Sweet with Hive Alive in it that I fed earlier on in the year, and they did seem to. It's hard to, one thing I'll be careful of is it's really easy to just say I'm going to put supplement A in my feed and then feed it to the bees, and then when the bees take it all down, say, oh wow, look how great the bees took my feed down. Well, the reality of the situation is whether I would have put the Hive Alive in it or not, they would have destroyed the feed at the time that I put it on.
Right.
So it would be irresponsible for me to say that the bees took the Pro Sweet faster because it had Hive Alive in it, or to say they took Pro Sweet faster because it had, you named the whatever supplement in it.
Right.
When we're putting the feed on when they need it, they're taking it down regardless. And so that's probably not a real good comparison. But
Bruce,
I
thank
think
you.
Bruce, thanks for the super chat there, Bruce. So anyways, Brian, it's just one of those things where I think the net gain on this approach this year is going to be a convenience factor where I can throw fondants on that are in a nice clean packaging without having dry sugar all over the place. And then the biggest gain I think is yet to be determined when we come out of this spring, and just to see what the gut health kind of looks like. How vibrant are they, and how many extra colonies actually pulled through and made it through. When you run the math, it doesn't take, if you can get 10% gain off of putting the fondant in, that's a big deal.
Right. So now, question for you. You threw the liquid in the Pro Sweet, so you had like a super mega concoction there. And now they'll have that fondant. Do you run patties?
I do.
Is there going to be Hive Alive in the patties?
I think I'm going to start streamlining what I'm using that has benefits that exceed what I've currently been using. I had a lot of trouble this year with Ultra Bee patties. They just would not touch them. No matter what I did, I ended up pulling so many of those off. When I would mix the dry powder, they would take that way better than the Ultra Bee himself. So I'm kind of going to be not investing in that anymore. My goal for the spring is to probably use the Hive Alive patty, being that it's a global is the manufacturer with the Hive Alive supplement in it. Which protein percentage is where I'm kind of on the fence. I'll probably stick with a lower protein is my thought, but I kind of like the idea of streamlining what I'm seeing, at least in our neck of the woods, is if I can give them a little bit of a boost with their gut biome, and keep them brooding, and keep them healthy, it's worth it for me to invest in those products that are, I would say, maybe scientifically proven and have results that are easily seen, not just in my local area, but just the studies themselves. So that's kind of a big deal. So for me, Hive Life makes a little more sense for what I'm doing right now than to just spending thousands of dollars or ordering pallets of product to just see how they do. But I did run an experimental product this year that I've never used before. And that was Strong Microbials Pro DFM.
Oh, okay.
And I used that early on, and I used that kind of throughout the year in a couple spots. So I don't know. It gets challenging because the year was so good. It's hard to attribute, was it so good because of which one of these things? Take away those things, was it so good? I don't know. But now I've kind of have this bar is now raised so high with how the bees are looking this late in the year now, because of what I think that probably was, and then how they were fed, how they were maintained throughout the year was just we did it better this year than we ever have, and then it seems like the bees are really looking good because of it.
I'll be curious. I'll be curious because and the only reason why I ask is, I mean, I basically switched up my entire like plan as far as supplements, and they had basically a type of a supplement every time I fed them, and my colonies were just booming.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. So, but Matt and Chuck, thank you guys so much. So I appreciate those super chats. It really really helps out. So
Looks like
Yeah, we have a
Dan just
that
commented there about the patties from Man Lake as they returned to the original recipe. Well, that's good because the modern the current ones were just
horrible.
didn't do the trick.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Feeding the chickens.
talking about patties and not, I mean, we're not even at the time of the year that we would use them, but I'll have to I saw a video from a gentleman the other day, and he had it was like a shim, and there was right in the middle of the shim, he had a raised up area with hardware cloth across it, and he put his patty on that, hardware cloth then, so it was raised up off of the frames,
Mm-hmm.
so it didn't give a place for the small hive beetles to hide so that they could lay eggs in. And he said he found like drastically reduced numbers of small hive beetle larvae by having it raised up so that the bees basically had access to both sides of the patty at the same time. It was interesting. I'll have to find it and send it to you guys, but I thought it was very interesting.
Bruce, where are you at this year on using supplements, or what do you think? Have you seen any net gain using a certain variety or particular one?
Well, what I've decided to do this year, last year it was more like an emergency type thing to save my bees. I think a bunch of them were getting in trouble. Typically what I've done in the past, like last year I used, I've got that pump system. I mixed up, sugar syrup, and then I added, and to be honest, this sounds a little bit crazy for some people, but add a little bit of bleach in that to help. I think it helps with gut health a little bit. The bees actually like it. Bees are attracted to chlorine and saltwater pools and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it it smells like bleach, but they just suck it down. They like it. And it's worked well for me for the past few years. And, but this year I actually have a few of those Hive Alive fondant patties left. I'm going to order some more and I'm going to try that out. I think that may save me from having to feed as much liquid feed. Now down here, they do, it does get warm. And so you can really set out open feed anytime and they'll suck it down. Wow. Or you could probably even feed in buckets, like Greg, if it's going to be cold, like with your bucket feeders, you could flip them upside down. You could use in hive feeders year round here. Honestly, you really could and keep them full. And so, but I just don't know that you need to do that. If they're fairly heavy, if they have enough food, that's good. But I think the fondant, I like the idea of the fondant patty, the Hive Alive fondant patty for many reasons that you guys have both discussed. It just gives them something to work on year round. It keep them healthy, hopefully help them build up coming out of spring or coming into spring. And so I'm excited to try it. That's kind of my go-to this year. I just went down, my buddy Tyler that we send the bees off to pollination with. Excuse me. I went down, he had some syrup, some just corn syrup. Went down and bought about a half a tote of that, actually diluted it down a little bit. And this is interesting, Greg, you're going to find this interesting. He has a thymol mixture that he uses, and I'm not sure what it is, but man, that stuff smells a lot like Apigard. He puts it in the syrup, whether it be sugar syrup or corn syrup. And the bees that's what he uses. And he's grown like crazy. He sells nukes. He builds comb in wintertime because he feeds constantly. And so he's like, hey, do you want to put some of my thymol? Do you want that? He's got a essential oils mixture he uses a little bit, but mostly he had like quart jars full, just stacked around of this thymol mixture he mixes up and uses that. And so my tank out there smells like a thymol, but I put it out for him Monday in my totes, and I'm going to get the the Hive Alive fondant patties. I'm going to order some of those, start putting those on probably in a few weeks, and maybe I won't have to feed as much liquid feed during the winter. Just see what happens. I'm eager to see, kind of curious to see how that works in the colonies. I've never really used it except for that one time last year. Down here, they're bringing in pollen, most of the year. There's some coming in. There are occasionally times when there isn't any, if we have a long cold snap, but almost always there's something out there they're getting. I don't know, when it'll warm up to where they can fly and they'll be bringing pollen in. It's nuts. But I saw where Ian asked about Cali. I'm planning on sending some out next year. Ian, my goal is 60 this year to send off with the truck out there to see how that goes, if it works out. So we'll see. I ordered some more pallets. I'm going to go get those soon. And I just that's going to be here before we know it. End of January, early February is when we usually send those out. And so I'm going to keep the pollination bees fed pretty hard here, and just, at least every week, couple of weeks, and just make sure they stay fairly strong. You just got to keep them kind of ramped up here. I'm going to give them a little bit of a rest here for a few weeks, but about mid-December, I'm feeding them a little bit now, and then I'll probably mid-December just start keeping some food going to them, and then maybe get the fondant on the other colonies, my production colonies, just see how it goes. I'm still fighting mites a little bit, though. I'm using the InstaVap. For those who've seen my most recent normal video, now I'm putting out these little Stream Team nuggets. I hope you guys like those. There's a fair amount of work that goes into pulling those little clips out of these Stream Team videos, but my most recent normal video of me actually out doing bee stuff was the InstaVap. Love that thing. I've had a lot of people asking questions about how many colonies I can treat with a battery, because that's, when you buy the machine, then you got to buy the batteries, and the batteries are not cheap at all. And so I got the DeWalt version. I ordered 4 of the 6 amp hour batteries with a fast charger, and I can get at 4. I've been using 4 grams on my full size colonies, and it gets about 22 to 23 colonies. And on some of my smaller colonies, I'm already going to use 2, and that'll probably be able to do twice as many colonies with that. 4 batteries should get me up around pushing 90 to 100 colonies, overall. So that's not bad. And I've got about 120, 130 colonies right now. So that'll work well. But I'm not treating everything right now. I had some of my production colonies, I think, were okay on mite counts from what the checks I did, but I'm checking I'm treating the pollination bees right now for mites. And then I'm going to, when we get a little colder here in December, my plan is to go ahead and just kind of hit everything again with it. And I'm doing them in 3 and 4 week series. I'm going to do a mite check on hopefully a warm day here in a couple of weeks and see if it's knocked the mite counts back on those colonies where I was over threshold. I had a couple of colonies that were over threshold that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I didn't expect that after I got done with the ApiGuard. And so I'm going to just check and see if it works. That's one way I can tell, use the InstaVap 3 to 4 weeks in a row. I can't do it every 4 days just with my schedule. Yeah, but do that and then do some mite checks on a warm day and see what happened. So that's kind of my strategy. We'll see how it goes. I haven't been in my bees near as much this year as I usually am. And I'm just kind of letting them do their thing, letting them roll, and just peeking in, cracking the lid here or there, but just kind of peeking in them to see. So we'll
Bruce, on your pallets, do you ever have troubles chasing all 4 to keep them all balanced, or do you ever have any issues with, you'll have one rogue hive that's just not doing so good, and you're constantly trying to decide, okay, do I plug a nuke into there, or do I balance them out, or do you wait till that's the problem. It is. I think that's part of the art of beekeeping, is figuring that out, because as you know, it's just they're not going to be consistent, and that's that. If I had a few dead outs this year, it just happens. And so I'm in the process in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, of getting some stuff consolidated, trying to kind of get an idea of which ones are going to California, maybe plugging in some other stronger colonies from production colonies, just trying to do some mixing and matching. And that's kind of a hassle, but I'm right on the verge of having to do that and need to do that. So that's kind of what my plan is now. That's what I'm going to be doing, just little stuff like that. And then equipment maintenance here is what I'm doing in the wintertime. I don't plan on getting in them as much. I'll do a few, on warm days, I'll do a few, inspections here or there, but I'm just going to kind of stay out of them a little bit this year and not get in the bees as much as I usually. Typically, I've been in them off and on all winter, but this year I'm going to give them a little bit of a break from the beekeeper.
I've got some things I'm working on here with the channel, with the Stream Team Nuggets, with you guys. We got a lot of things we're kind of working on, but I definitely want to try the Hive Alive fondant and work on that and see how that works. I'm excited about that and see what happens.
Yeah. This is it right here.
That's the fondant, yeah.
Love this stuff.
Well, I just think it's a tremendous product. And instead of having to keep trying to feed liquid feed, if that'll keep them, sustain them. And I don't necessarily want my production colonies to blow it out. I don't want them to just brood up like crazy right in the first part of January. I want them just to kind of steadily, stay strong and just kind of stay steady. And then to blow it out, in March, February, March, April is when I want them to grow and explode when I'm starting to do splits and stuff. But, if I keep feeding them liquid feed, the liquid feed seems to really stimulate them to starting to brood production and really grow, which I need that some with the pollination bees, but I don't need that. My production colonies don't have to do that. I don't care about them doing that. It's just more work on the beekeeper, and they can starve out faster, and it's just more work and it's more touch and go. And so that's I'm also eager to see, Greg, how your queens do as far as in the wintertime. I haven't really checked on them, haven't been in them much. So we'll just see. I know that day you were here, they were all at different stages. Some of the colonies we put them in were stronger than others. Yeah. And some of those ones that were really kind of weak splits have struggled some. I'm not sure if some of those are going to make it, but most of them seem to be doing okay so far. And they have from what I can tell, they've retracted back into smaller. So typically the way my bees are, they stay pretty strong all winter. And so I see those small clusters. I know I just got to resist the urge to say, man, they're in trouble, because I've had carniolans before that do that. They back way off. Tiny little softball sized cluster in the wintertime, and you think, man, they're out, and then all of a sudden you go out there and boom, they're in 2 or 3 boxes. And so I've got to just resist the urge to do something about it, because I know that's what those bees typically do is they do become smaller in the wintertime and then explode in the spring, hopefully. So
Bruce, you said something about you were struggling with mites. You could just never knock them back, or was it a certain yard?
It's mostly those Midland City bees. What I did, and for those who may not be familiar with the channel, you can go back and look at some of my videos from last spring. I sent some colonies out to California. When they got back, they were really strong. I kind of let them sit there for a couple of weeks. I really don't know how to manage mites when they come back, because you need to split, and then it's just everything's happening. You're in those bees, you're splitting the bees out. How do you treat for mites? They've got brood in there, obviously. So oxalic acid may not be the most effective thing. So most treatments take, weeks to treat. You put the Apivar on there, it's a 6-week treatment. You put Apigard on, you got to treat them. So I really am not sure how to treat bees when you're in the process of working with them. I don't really know how to do that. And so I didn't treat them. They came back, they were pretty clean, I think, when they left for California. I didn't do a lot of checks, but I'd done some treatment. I think they were pretty clean. I hope they were. And I never really checked them, didn't do much about the mites. I did have my other bees. I'm pretty sure they were clean, my local production colonies. But when they got back, I split them, left them alone until about July. And then I started doing some checks. If you watch some of my videos throughout the summer, you'll see some of that. And there were some issues with mites in those colonies. And so I started treating them. I used a kind of a label product. And then the mite counts were still about high. So then I used some Apigard. And that was just a month or 2 ago. And then even still, now my production colonies, those treatments, the Apivar that I used in my production colonies, some of them, and then the Apigard just knocked them down, and they were all within threshold. But for some reason, those Midland City bees, it was an inconsistent count. Some of them were fine, but I had 2 colonies out of about 5 or 6 or 7 that I checked. I can't remember how many it was that had 10, which is, that's over 3%, which I'd like them to be down as low as possible. I like to see 3 or 4 or less, 1 or 2. I like to see none, obviously. And so that's when I was kind of like, well, I'm going to try this, and it's cooling down some. I haven't been through them to see what the brood is really, but I just went ahead and started hitting them with this InstaVap. I wanted to try the machine out anyway. I'm excited. It's like a toy. It's fun. And so I just went out and treated them, and it's fast. And so I went out and I've treated them twice now, about a week apart with that thing. Going to hit them again this weekend. And next weekend, I might just go ahead and test for mites. I'm not sure. I'm going to hit them one more time, or else check for mites next weekend on those ones that I know were the high mite loads. Let's see how they're doing. But I'm hitting all the pollination bees right now with that. And then in late December, I'm going to hit all my other production colonies with just as an insurance program. I may even hit these again just for insurance. The bees,
Did
it
your
really doesn't seem to affect the bees in a negative way at all. I don't know. The bees seem to do just fine on oxalic acid. And I've even heard Ian talk about how the bees almost seem more vibrant after those treatments sometimes when he treats with that. And so I have never had issues using oxalic acid at all with the
Yeah, do you
treatments I've
think
done.
how much did your pollination bees, was that Midland City?
Yeah, they were Midland City and the ones up by
Did they ever really bounce back?
um, yeah, I mean, they did
Did
fine, but they didn't
Okay.
produce like the ones in the other the ones. So when they came back from California, I put them all up there at Newton by that big cell tower. You saw those up there, but my uncle's land. We split off of those. Those were the donor colonies that went to California, came back. We split them, and I took them out to Midland City, and I put the new queens in those ones at Midland City. So those are all pretty much all new queens, like with
Mhm.
Jose's queens and Josh's queens. But I think for some reason there was a mite issue. The ones in Newton aren't as bad. The mites aren't as bad. I'm not sure what the issue was. I don't know if something got sprayed. They seemed healthy. I did lose some, but the ones that are still there are healthy.
What do
So I don't
you
know.
without probably should stay away from the details there, but there's I know we've mentioned it before. Um, is it possible that you have something going on that is a fungicide synergy that's got mixed up with a amitraz product?
I don't know. I guess it's possible. Um, I don't know. They look, the ones that are still surviving out there look, and they look pretty strong. They look fine. I think I'm actually going to move those now. The cotton's all been harvested. Really, right now they're just sitting in that spot. There's nothing going on out there. The farming is all done for the year. I really don't know. They did okay. They just they started off as splits. This is like maybe 3 or 4 frame splits. So they had to start from very basic colonies,
Hmm.
to grow. And I got a little bit of honey off of them, and some of them just did not do as well as I'd hoped. I don't know if we had some queen failure.
Hmm.
I don't know if we did have some spray type stuff going on. The farmer's pretty good. That farmer really likes having bees around his stuff, and he's really pretty careful. He asks me kind of what he needs to do, and so I don't know how much they spray that cotton. I know some of the cotton is more resistant to disease nowadays, and I've sprayed as much.
Hmm.
But the sheer number of colonies, they're almost the same in from the donor colonies and those. But the donor colonies are a little bit stronger. And I didn't replace those queens. And so I think most of those ones that are still alive probably just replaced their own queens or something. I'm not sure exactly
Finally
what
got
happened.
straightened up there. What I do
But
know is those mites are way tougher than we can give them credit for. I know we were in the learning yard. Those colonies that got wiped out by the storm, knocked over, rained in. Yeah, in the learning yard, the queen survived and she was laying, but we lost
Mhm.
like 60, upwards of 70% of the actual bee population. I mean,
Crazy.
immediately. And a lot of those colonies never really bounced back. And then we were checking for mites. I mean, some of them. I mean, Brian, I can't even remember what the percentages were on some of those. They were astronomical.
Wasn't
We
the
were
one at like
30,
21 or something?
20.
23?
Yeah, I know we had like 33, 40 mites in the wash
Crazy.
cups. And then I'm trying to think what is so different about those ones versus everywhere else. Well, it turns out all the colonies that did get rained in and lost half their population, they never lost. The mites were actually able to withstand all that. It was zero problem.
Yeah.
So then you have a colony that has 60 or 70% less population with the same mite load. So whatever hygienic behavior or running them out or the things that the bees naturally do, there's none of that going on. So those mites just got out of control.
Mhm.
Brian, the reason I brought that up is it's been warm there, and I poked in on just a couple of those colonies there.
Mhm.
The colony, when you said that when we put the formic on, there was a colony that you saw fly right over top of the sawmill shack.
Yeah.
That was actually the hive right next to the Apame. It's a ghost town. There is nobody home. I mean, zero. Nothing in there
Really?
at all, except for the formic pads. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. Um,
Wow.
so there was another colony there too that we used formic on. It's just, man, I know everyone does a little bit differently, but the formic has left just such a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where that's a tricky situation. They're already
Yeah.
down in numbers, high in mites, and they were probably doomed at that point, anyways.
Wow.
But so
It's
that's what we
just,
were seeing.
it's just hard, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't always make a lot of sense. And I know there's a reason for everything that happens when it comes to the bees and the mite counts and everything. But number one, if you're not monitoring your mites, they can go from a reasonable count to out of threshold. It's seemingly overnight. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Even if the hives aren't losing pollen, it's just so weird. And then the inconsistency between yards and even the colonies in each yard is just crazy. And so one thing I think, I was just going back and watching some of Gus Mitchell's videos. If you haven't seen his stuff, he's got some really good videos, but he was talking about one of his goals is to have, that may be my next Stream Team Nugget. I'm thinking about cutting a section out of that from our video last year, but is to kind of have consistent colonies. You were mentioning when you brought up the pallets earlier, Greg, I was thinking about that, to kind of figure out how to have a consistent growth in the colonies on the pallets and in your bee yard. And it's impossible, I think, to be 100% consistent, but there are things you can do to do that. But the thing that's so weird to me is how in the same bee yard, I'll have a zeros for test. I'll have threes, I'll have fours, twos, ones, and then I have 10, and then I'll have 3, 2, 1, 10. It's just like, what, why are those two?
That's crazy.
So much higher than the rest. And I don't know if they've just learned how to manage or live with the mites, or if they are just not hygienic, or what happens. But it usually seems to be the stronger colonies that they have those. It's just weird because out there where I got those two colonies that had a 10 count, those were two. At least one of them may have been the strongest colony in that entire apiary out there, and it's just 10 mice. I'm like, what the heck? I just tested it almost as an afterthought. Well, I'll just test one more. It was like, bam, 10 mites. And so I was like, whatever. I just don't understand. But I think those are all things that are just a mystery. Maybe it's not a mystery to everybody, but to me, and you just have to always, we use that term intentional beekeeping. You got to be intentional about what you're doing. And I've just learned that more and more recently. That's become kind of almost like my theme as far as in my mindset is, if I want to be successful with my bees, I got to have a reason for doing things. And I do love getting in them. I do love inspecting the colonies and learning about the bees and reading the bees and learning from the bees. But I need to have a purpose for what I'm doing. And if I'm just treating blindly, just throwing oxalic acid at them or throwing whatever, Apivar at them, and then I'm not testing, you've taught me this, and Cayman and some others, Greg, is that if you don't test afterwards, who knows if it worked?
Right.
I mean, some of the Amatraz type products I've used in the Apivar, but even oxalic acid, I see a mite drop, I can see the mites drop, but that doesn't mean they're all gone. If you test oxalic acid, last year, I totally neglected my Apiary hives in my backyard last year. I've told this story before. I treated with oxalic acid. I did a video on this as well back last winter, and I had not treated really I'm not even sure if I treated them all year last year. Maybe I did something this summer with some Apivar. I might have done that. I can't remember what I did, but I hit them with oxalic acid about this time last year, I think it was. And I had thousands of them. I cleaned off the tray in the bottom, cleaned it off, washed it off, made sure it was perfect like new on those colonies, and I treated. And one of those colonies in particular had thousands of mites on that tray. Next week, I did it again. Thousands of mites again. Not much addition from the first week. By the third week, they were just starting to drop off a little bit, not as many. Fourth week, they drastically decreased, and by the fifth week, there were almost no mites. But see, I didn't do an alcohol wash or a dishwashing soap wash on them, but you could see the difference in the drop, and so I felt like it was a pretty good test. And I have tested those colonies back after I treated with Apivar earlier in the year, and they were all in good shape as far as the numbers went. But you just don't know. I mean, how many, if you have a colony and you don't have a way to see how many mites drop, I mean, you can assume that you're killing them, but you don't know. You have no idea.
What I just thought when you were thinking about that, or you were talking about that, is we're chasing mites, knocking mites down. That's a huge part of how well the hives do. and you've got some, colonies that might wash high and some that might wash low, and you've got pallets, and there's an equilibrium you try to maintain with those. I can remember even talking to Bob about it. As Bob said, I mean, hands down, colonies on bottom boards do way better than colonies on four ways. That's, I mean, to him, it's just a fact. To me, it makes sense too. I have hardly any trouble at all with keeping colonies balanced when they're either on hive stands or on bottom boards or just stacked out in rows. But there's just something that happens when you put four in that orientation that they get a little bit goofy. But here we are focusing on knocking mite down, murdering mites, getting the mites out of the picture, and some are high, some are low. But my mind goes into different places with that, and I'm thinking that's great. Let's knock the mites down because the mites carry the viral loads. But I don't wonder sometimes when we see these colonies that are just have explosions in mite numbers that they're just mites. Like maybe those mites aren't carrying high viral loads and they're not transmitting anything to the bees and everything's cool. Who's to say that let's say of the entire mite population in a colony, let's say 5% of the mite population within a colony has lethal viral loads, okay, versus another little colony of bees that has a mite load, maybe 90% does. Like, I think there's nuances to how the mites actually affect the bees by transmitting the intensity of the viral strains and what viral strains that they are that we can't even pretend to control. But maybe that's why we see some colonies that blow your mind with the mite loads but are doing fantastic, and you have some that are like barely over a threshold and you're looking at them and you're thinking, what's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know, man. That's part of the art of it. That's part of you talk about in medicine, practicing medicine. That's kind of practicing beekeeping. You're just trying to do the best you can, man. You're trying to husbandry, animal husbandry. You're trying to figure out what works. And so
you don't want to practice keeping your cows alive is the thing about that though, Bruce.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, you lose a beehive. It's bad, but it's not as bad as losing a cow. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's true. But I think there's way more known about. There's so many unknowns with bees. I mean, cows. I know there are unknowns with every animal, but with bees, it's just there's so many mysteries and so many things that are being studied, and so many ways to do things. It's just there's so many different treatments, and with livestock, animal livestock, you treat them a lot like people as far as the medications and things that you give them, the infections they get. They're mammals, and so they react similar to, you can kind of develop a treating program around that. But with bees, it's an insect. It's a whole different thing. And so, you can utilize those same principles, but you gotta, we talked about that a little bit last time with the treatment for the foul brood. It's like, it's just a different organism and it's a different way things are. So you have to understand the insects, and that's what a lot of these products are out there trying to do. And you do have to, I used to hit with oxalic acid, 3 treatments, 3 weeks in a row. I do that 2 or 3 times a year, regardless of the time of the year. And I'm like, well, I'm treating for mites. Well, that's just not good enough. And I've been intentional this year about it. I've been intentional about this year, and I've just learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot about just kind of what works, what doesn't work. And, speaking of mites, and then also we were talking a little bit earlier about thymol, Greg, in the food, both with the Hive Alive and then with this additive I added to my corn syrup or my syrup here a few days ago. Do you think that thymol, my buddy Tyler talked about how it helps the gut of the bee, the gut also? Do you think you think that will have an effect on the mites as well, or do you think it's more just going to help the gut of the bee if it's in a product like that?
I think the feed and the patties, when you mix up Hive Alive in your syrup, it smells like Apogard. I mean, it has that smell.
It has a strong smell, very similar. Yes,
that's what thymol is. My thoughts are when that vapor is going through the hive, what percentage of gain or loss is there as far as knocking mites down?
Is Brian going to try some?
Brian, you going to drink that, Brian?
He's going to test
Brian's
it for
making
us?
a mixer over here.
No. I have PTSD from the last time you guys talked me into that. No, I'm just going to give it a good smell. So
It's strong stuff. It does smell thymol. It does have a little bit of a
Yeah.
different, but it definitely, you can tell it's a very strong smell. So you're right about that.
yeah,
So anyway, but we kind of,
I think it does help with the gut, and I think it could potentially help to some
Mhm.
degree with the mites. But regardless, if you can keep the gut biome healthy and keep their digestion and their nutrients and their overall health up, I think that's a net gain that would it's going to help in all the things, including how they are able to resist or handle or deal with viruses from the mites. And maybe the thymol is producing just enough vapor to help just make an uncomfortable place for mites. And if so, that's a win too.
You know,
it's just a healthy thing. I think it's just, if it can help the bees be more healthy.
yeah. If
then
you
why
look at the
not?
ingredients, the thyme, you're looking at the fourth ingredient in the list. So
It's in there pretty good then.
yeah,
Is that what thymol's from? That makes sense? Thyme or thyme.
yeah, yeah,
Never thought about where it came from. So now that makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's good stuff. Yeah.
So anyway,
Dude.
I think just keep them heavy. And there was a question on here. I watched a video from Grayson at Wildwoods Honeybees.
Mhm.
We had him on here a little bit, I think a couple of weeks ago. But or was it last week? Whenever it was, we had Grayson on here for a little while. But he tried putting, he was concerned about the ventilation in his colonies, and he said how you can help save your colonies in winter for 10 cents. And what he did was he took a nickel, put under each side of the inside the lid to help create a little bit of ventilation. And I remember you talking, Greg, in your discussion with I can't remember her name, from Ohio, the bee inspector.
Oh, Nina Bagley. Yep.
Nina, about ventilation. And so what do you think about something like this, raising up just a little bit? Do you think that is beneficial? I think it probably is, just to keep a little bit of ventilation, especially down here. It does get cold, but we do have a little bit of condensation, but just kind of keep that warmth, the warm air kind of flowing through the hive, getting out, kind of preventing that condensation from happening.
Brian, what are your thoughts on condensation, Brian?
I have those Vivaldi boards in my hives in my 8-framer, so I swear by those things because they collect it. I mean, and all. I mean, if you think of how they're set up, it's basically an inner cover that has a shim on it, and I put burlap on top of that, and it catches all that condensation. And there will be enough condensation in my hives throughout the winter that I have extra burlap, and I swap it out throughout the winter. There's that much condensation in those hives. So, I mean, if you're not controlling that, man, that's where you're going to get into some problems, just because if you're not controlling that condensation, the moisture, and you have wet bees.
Oh man, that's terrible, isn't it? Have you heard if you use an insulated foam board as a lid that you won't have condensation? Well, I've heard that. I had a guy call me this week. I'm going to leave his name out for two reasons. Number one, I don't want to embarrass him by me trying to recount the the conversation. And number two, he called looking for some guidance because he was watching water run out of the front of his colony and then freezing, and he's trying to figure out where all this moisture is coming from. And he's running me through his hive configuration. He's got double deeps, and then he's got a ventilated shim, and then he's got a inner cover, and then he's got a lid, and he's trying to figure out, why do I have moisture? And I'm thinking, I'm like, man, if you have got a ventilated shim, like, I don't even understand how you can. Oh, he's got a foam board, a foam, or what is it, a 3/4 or an inch foam under his lid. And I'm thinking, man, if you have a vented shim, how is it even possible that you have condensation where it's dripping all over the bees? They're soaking. It's pouring out of the colony. Well, turns out the vented shim you can, I don't know if it's cork or whatever, you can pull the corks out, and it's got round holes for the actual the ventilation. and those were closed up. So
Oh, gotta have
even
the ventilation. Yeah.
so even with the thought the train of thought that all you need is an insulated cover or a lid on top to prevent condensation,
Wow.
that just completely disproved that for me, at least in the Ohio area, because this guy had just buckets of water coming out of there, and so opening up that vent shim to actually vent and feed, I think it's going to take care of that. So I think I mean, we're not talking about a whole lot. I mean, Brian, on those winter shims that I cut for you, I mean, I think Izzy put a quick TikTok on there. I don't know that it shows us actually plunge cutting the vents, but I mean, it's only, a 6-inch slit on
Yeah.
the front and a 6-inch slit on the back. That's a
Yeah.
table saw blade kerf. I mean, it's the location and where they're at, and that's perfect for getting
Yep.
moisture out and keeping the bees
Yes.
warm still.
So there was a comment on here about, I guess, David Burn, or who was it? David Burns did a video about the 10-cent moisture fix, and that's probably that might be where Grayson got the idea from. But I mean, like you say, a nickel, that's about the width of a saw blade, right?
Yeah.
So if you can just raise it up enough to create that ventilation. But I'm a big believer in the ventilation too. I think you have to have some ventilation in there. And I may not do as good a job as I should with that. We can get away with, I think, a few things down here that maybe you can in the rest of the country. Just because of the temperature, down here, it's not as drastic. But I have had some colonies in the past where I've cracked them open and they were just dripping wet because they were maybe in the shade or I don't know, just different things. And they're wet. And so it definitely can be an issue. If you have ventilation, even if you crack a corner, like most of my lids are just enough to let that warm air out, that keeps it from hitting and staying underneath that lid where the cold air from the lid hits it and it just drips, and I think it's pretty humid in a beehive is my understanding. I mean, they're always doing some things. And so you gotta, especially in the, I guess it is probably everywhere, but that's just an interesting concept. I thought I'd, give Grayson a credit. He just made a little minute and a half, less than 2-minute video today. And it was kind of a good little video they made there. I thought it was kind of cool, and it ought to work. The concept is good. So, I don't know.
It doesn't take much. It just takes a lot of old timers would use nickels or popsicle sticks or just
that's right, just
a
something.
piece of debris laying there, or eventually, I know some of my older pallets, they are just there's plenty of ventilation in the bottom.
Well, some of my boxes are that way. They got
rough too.
Boxes got holes in the corners and stuff, and the bees love all that stuff. We
Yeah.
don't think they look all that, they look bad, but the bees love to have an extra hole here or there. It's kind of funny. So Brian, if your hive is sealed up, I think, pretty, you have to have stuff to absorb that moisture. You have to have the burlap or whatever, and people have all kinds of ways of doing that.
Yeah.
But I think lots of times if you do have some ventilation, it can help prevent a lot of those problems. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, Kodiak says I've used little twigs to space. I mean, that's kind of what I've done. Honestly, I've gone in and I've used just little sticks in the corners for ventilation and stuff, almost like an upper interest, and that works well too.
If I wasn't feeding fondant, if I wasn't,
that's a good point.
If I wasn't coming back on dry sugar, and if I didn't need a place to put, Apogard or a patty, I mean, a feeder shim, probably wouldn't be necessary. They're inexpensive to make, even with a fresh, nice box, so it's nice and square. But the nice thing about a vented feeder shim is you can throw a pollen patty in there and have the space without having to have, pollen rims on your lids, which is fine too. But then if you do want to use something like Apogard, you can just blue tape off the front and the back of that vented shim, go to town, do what you have to do there. So they are kind of multi-purpose. They are kind of handy.
Does it even matter though if it's that narrow of a opening? Does it matter if you just leave it alone? The bees will even propolize that, won't they?
I mean, they might, but the way that shim is, so the way I cut mine, they're about a 2-inch shim. And then 3/4 from the top of the shim is where I've got my ventilation cut. So it's kind of up there, 1.25 inches or so away from the top of the box. It's up in a weird place where the bees aren't really going to be trafficking a whole lot. So I've never had them close that up. If it was like down low or right up in their business or in the box, I used to, one thing I don't do anymore, and I did a lot of it for a long time, is I used to cut a 3/4 or a 1-inch round hole in the front and in the back of every single box. I never had a single problem with condensation, that's for sure. But I think the bees were actually, there was too much draft, too much ventilation coming in.
Mm.
And then you would see them start to try to either close that up, or I think we've talked about it using a FLIR cam, is I would see every winter the bees would be on the opposing end of the big back vent. So to me, that was telling me no matter which way the box was oriented with the wind direction, they were always away from that back 1-inch hole on the boxes. To me, I'm thinking, I think they're trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, why don't we? It's been a while since we did our reveal about the things that we're looking forward to. Why don't we pop that up here again, Brian? The thing that we revealed earlier.
Oh, the thing, the secret thing.
That's no longer a secret because we've already.
Well, it's a secret for anyone who just tuned in.
Yeah, for anyone that just came in the last probably about an hour. So why don't we show what we've been working on a little bit the last couple of weeks?
Okay.
We had some people in the comments say, "Man, you guys really are some characters." And so we thought, well, hey,
yes,
if people think we're characters, then let's go ahead and
let's
just create a logo.
Yeah,
there's the 3 characters.
I do want to say while we have this up, thank you, Leroy. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Yep.
For those,
thanks, Lisa. Appreciate
those super chats. So, yeah, those that are just joining in, this is a logo that Bruce more or less took the charge with this, and I mean it's just an amazing job.
Well, it's we
turned out great.
I talked to a friend who actually was, I don't know if he's still on here, but he was on here earlier this evening, and he knows a guy who, and now I know the guy and we know the guy, and so anyway, he did a great job with the and then show him the other one. Here's Brian, if you could. We got another one we're going to use, so we're going to try and get maybe some stickers made, maybe get some a little bit of merch, just some different things. We haven't really figured out exactly what we're going to do with it yet, but we are kind of working on some ideas for upcoming times. This has been such a fun thing over the past year, and
yeah. Look how nice your teeth are in that, Bruce, isn't it?
I know, man, they're perfect. It's just one big.
Earlier looking at this, Matt said I needed more gray hair, but I mean, there's enough gray in there.
Yeah. Anyway, it turned out nice, and we really appreciate
it. Did.
I don't have any gray. Help us out with it. Did a great job.
We worked on it for probably about a little over a week, probably a week and a half or so, 2 weeks, just back and forth with the creator, and he did a good job with it, and we just appreciate that. And so you'll be seeing that stuff. We're going to try and figure out some things to do to get some of this stuff to you guys, so you can,
Hey, do you guys want to tease what do we talk about for the December 21st? People know that there's going to be.
Well, I might as well tell them. Sure.
It's going to be an InstaVape.
It's InstaVape, or is it InstaVape, or is it a?
I don't know. Is it instant?
Instant with a T, and then I would say instant vape, like vaporizer. Yeah, it's instant.
It has a T on it. I've never even noticed that.
Instant vape.
Okay, I've been spelling it
vaporizer,
wrong.
Instant vaporizer.
Rob has a knack of whatever name he comes up with, I cannot pronounce because I'll say Lorabees, Lorabees. I mess that up every time, but so. But no, for everybody that's listening, it's right there, just like Jason just said, Insta giveaway. That's exactly it. December 21st for our 1-year stream, we have, I think there's 20 some, pop on folks that I think you might see. For prizes, we're going to have several, items as giveaways, but everybody already knows the instant vape. Is that it?
Instant vape. I have never, Greg, instant I just vape. Looked at that. I've pronounced it wrong the whole time.
So
I gotta go back and change it. I gotta go back and change it everywhere because I want to get it right. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that to my attention. I've been saying InstaVape the whole time.
What are you going to change? Are you spelling it wrong or saying it wrong?
Yes, spelling it and saying. I've just been saying InstaVape and spelling it and everything.
Anyway, wow, man, Rob is just going to be.
Well, he doesn't
disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Rob doesn't care how you say it. He just wants you to use it.
That's right. It. We're going to have that. Apame is giving away a complete nuke setup.
That's cool.
Um,
What are you giving away, Brian?
there's going to be some Hive Alive products.
Nice.
I just got that all somewhat squared away. Is Matt and Sarah in here? Matt and Sarah, are they still in here?
I think he was.
I think they're in here. Somebody's going to get an engraved hive from Matt and Sarah.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. Somebody's going to get some queens from Jose. What else was there? I got to get the list.
We have some items that are not on a list.
Yeah.
Some mystery local items for Nature's Image Farm.
Mystery local items. Well, that'll be for Ohio folk. Guardian bee apparel will have some items.
Chevrolet will have are giving away.
Chevy's giving away the plans to their next year's models.
Yep.
But
a 2-ton straight truck.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
So
no, they're not.
Grace is asking about how we're going to do the wins. We're just going to do it for people who are actually on the chat.
Got to be on.
Yep.
Got to be on the chat, and you got to respond to them after we give it away, because we're not going to. That's the easiest way to do it and the best way to do it. So we'll be going through utilizing the
be there or be.
Yeah. It's thinking about it too. Like, we could do a wheel, and have people do entries. But then this time of year, do I want to spend 6 or 8 hours going through comments on videos and then populating a wheel?
You know what we could do? We could do the first ever live rock, scissor, paper championships to win the prizes.
That would be awesome. Yeah. But no.
So, and if there's anyone on here who would like to participate as far as donate something to the giveaway, just let Brian know. Get a hold of Brian, email him.
Yeah, just let us know. But yeah.
Have you figured out what channel that's going to fall on? It'll probably fall on yours, won't it, Brian?
I think so.
Yeah, we need to let Brian. It needs to be on his channel regardless. He's putting this thing together. So whatever the order is, we'll let it be on Brian's channel.
Look at that right there. Jason is doing a Bohemia Apiary gift box set. So
cool.
I mean, yeah, it's just our way of saying thank you to everybody that has tuned in. Literally, I mean, there's been names that I see here that have tuned in the entire year from when this very first started.
Sure.
Like really right out of the gate, just with loads of support, and it's just continued. And
there's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of live chats and things happen.
Oh man!
Since we got going too, it's neat to see how ideas kind of spark, and then someone will take something and run and do their own thing, and just the whole thing kind of grows as a one just mega super organism. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we've learned a lot though too. I mean, we I remember the first big pop-on that we were going to have. We're like, oh man, what do you mean the basement's filled?
Yeah,
that was
only have 10 people on at once, and you guys were like, wait a minute.
It's been a load of fun. So yeah, but everybody just December 21st, 8 p.m. Just be in there, and like Bruce said, be in the live, and when you win something, just respond. That way we know, we can get your address and things like that, and that way you can just get connected with whomever it is that's supplying the item that you do win, so that way we can match that all up. So but yeah, it's that one's going to be a lot of fun. God, a lot of fun. So
should be a lot of fun.
Yep, that's only that's not too far away, is it?
About a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks away. Yeah. So,
what's going on right now, guys? Any
Well, look at that. Check out that date.
12,
There you go.
21.
1 2 2 1 2 2. Jason's thinking. He's
12,
in deep thought about that date.
21, 22. 12, 21.
Yeah, that's the
1,
date.
2, 2.
12, 21.
Oh, I see the repetition there. There's 2 patterns of 1, 2, 2. Interesting.
Huh.
There you go.
Interesting. I tell you, me, I'm debating because
Like on stage?
Tomorrow it's 53. The wife is working until 2:30. So I'm
You're cracking
debating.
lids.
Well, no, I'm debating on, do I give them a dose of OA? Because we
Certainly could.
have,
Why not?
we have, probably practically no brood right now.
If they're flying,
And they're,
might be flying.
yeah, they're not really, with 53, they're not going to be clustered up tight. So it'd be a perfect opportunity for me just to get a late, that would be my, gosh, they were hit with Apivar earlier in the year. They were hit with OA. They had Apivar later. Now they'd be getting some late OA, and I might. It's a perfect opportunity. So won't hurt, So that's probably going to be, I think, about the extent of what I can do. I just, I don't want to crack lids, so to say, just because I have my strips out, I have everything in place. But yeah, tomorrow I think I might blast some mites.
Yeah, I've had kind of my principle behind using the OAV is to just, almost like as in insurance, because I've done all the other more harsh treatments. I've done the amitraz-based products / Apivar type stuff. I've done the Apigard, and this is more just to kind of take care and clean them up a bit. I've realized that here in the South, we never go completely broodless, or very few colonies do, but we're at a lower brood rate now than we normally are during the spring and summer, obviously. And so they do brood back some, at least most of them do. So why not just go ahead and hit them pretty hard here in the wintertime and just see what happens. It's never hurt me in the past to hit them with the OAV in the wintertime, or really ever for that matter. But I feel like right now is the most beneficial time to do it. Also, I don't really want to be in the colonies trying to apply other kinds of treatments right now, much, if anything. And so, but I continue to kind of harp on this. Here in the South, it's not as dangerous to get in the colonies as it is up there. We do have warm days, and it does get cold here a little bit, but it's always, even in the wintertime, they'll propolize stuff up. If you break through it within a week or two, they'll propolize it and glue it back down. And so they're almost always, unless we have an incredibly cold winter, crazy winter, they're almost always a day here or there where the bees can get out and fly and do some things.
What do you think it is about the fear of cracking lids or breaking a propolis? So I guess I'm not real in touch with that, because I've got zero issues.
I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know either.
Even up
I'd
here,
be
when
fine.
it's if I'm going out to throw some font or sugar on and check on those on days all throughout the wintertime. A couple things. First, there was a question there about temperatures for OA. I have no idea what the temperature should be, but what I can say is if you see bees on the landing board and they're leaving the colony, then I'll zap them, because if they're not gonna be like this in a tight cluster. They're gonna be out moving, they're gonna be feeding, they're gonna be going and then going out. That's, for me, physically, when it makes sense to use OA, because the vapor can actually penetrate the cluster and the frames and knock the mites out. If the bees are up in the cluster, sure, you could go in there when it's 20 degrees and you could zap them, but what are you going to be zapping? The outside periphery of the colony. That's going to be, I think, a waste of an effort. So the temperature isn't so important as what the bees are actually doing, because some bees will get out and move at cooler temperatures than others. I know our Caucasians, they'll be out in the 40s easy and just doing their thing. So that's one thing that I make sure to do is if the bees are flying or moving, the bees are flying, the mites are dying, and then zap. But I've got no problems at all cracking the lid, putting shims on late in the year, adding fondant to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what I guess I don't understand what the issue is. I guess it's going to be maybe extra ventilation in some areas, or
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've done it my whole beekeeping career. I've gotten in them, but I've just kind of maybe fallen into the trap that, it's interesting. And this kind of brings to head, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, Cayman did a video where he was, may have been last year, but in the last year or two, Cayman did a video. It was like, I think there was still snow on the ground where it was very cold, and he's out there, he's breaking into a colony. He had something he was taking care of. And he's like, look, I know it's cold out here, but these bees are going to be okay. I'm going to get in here and get it out quick. He was doing something. I'm not sure there was a reason he was in there. But bees, I think we need to realize bees are tougher than we give them credit for sometimes. They really are, and they can tolerate a lot more, I think, than we give them credit for. And so just the fact that bees can survive in those northern climates where it gets, even, sometimes up in where you guys are, heck, Matt and Sarah up there in, Minnesota, northern Minnesota. I mean, if they can survive up there when it gets like in the zero negative temperatures,
minus
then
10
if
or
you crack
15.
an open, you open a hive for a few seconds or a couple minutes on a 30-degree day, it's probably going to be okay. But I don't think you need to just go in them and go. You need to be careful and once again intentional about what you're doing. If there's not a reason,
you're not pulling frames and doing brood inspections.
If there's not a reason to go in, then just don't go in. But I do like the idea of using the OAV treatments in the wintertime, and I don't feel like I need to get into them. Shoot, I mean, I'm going to be moving bees from pallet to pallet and doing a lot of stuff here, trying to get them ready for pollination. And I've got to crack them open and look how strong they are. I've had to pull out a frame or two of brood here or there and just check and see if they're brooding up or how, what their strength is going to be, because I don't want to send them out to, send a colony that's broodless out to California for pollination. And they look at that thing and it's gotten weaker. Even if it's broodless because it's a genetics or whatever may be, but they want to see some brood. They want to see the bees growing when they get there. And so I'm going to have to do that. And I've done it in the past with really no issues. And so, you see Ian up there just lifting the back of his colonies up and looking in them, it's not when he puts them in the shed when it's in the negative temperatures, but even when it's chilly outside, he'll crack them open and look under. And I did that last year. And so once I think the point is, and Greg, you kind of made a good point there that maybe it's not as big a deal as a lot of people think it is to break through some of that.
Maybe it is, and we're just real lucky. But
I can
maybe so.
I can think of one word. You want to know what that word is?
What's that word?
Anthropomorphize.
Oh, that's good, Brian.
Anthropo.
We are.
What is it?
Anthropomorphize. That's true. Where I think a lot of it is we're not cracking every single box, right? And we're also have the luxury of using good equipment. That the boxes are square, they're flush, they sit on tight. We're not leaving quarter-inch gaps between anything.
That's true.
With or without propolis. By the time that we like if I don't even, like, for some reason, let's say if I don't get around to putting a shim on until January, and it's not propolized, to me the shim is laying flush, flat, square on top of the box, and then I'm putting either a cheese board or an HDO or a heavy lid on top of there, and then I'm putting a 1-gallon bucket on top of that. So for me, any issue that I would have with the biggest issue that I could ever see, which wouldn't be most people's context, is if you are cracking a migratory lid in the winter and you're putting it back and you somehow get some kind of, you don't get it on all the way, and you get some kind of freak sideways rain, maybe you get extra, it blows it off, or you get moisture inside of there. That would be about the only thing. But one easy thing that we've always done is either have a bucket feeder that's got half a gallon to a gallon of feed on top of the lid all winter, or there's a brick for marking to tell me what's going on in the box. It also keeps the lid down, and it totally eliminates that issue. Most folks, if they're using telescopic lids, I really can't see what would the issue be.
Yeah,
for
there have been some.
moisture,
There have been some pretty good comments of people that have had some thoughts on that. Russell Koopman had a thought in there about how bitterly cold it gets up there, and so it's just I mean, down here it's really not that big of a deal. I don't want to get into it when it's 20, 30 degrees out. But if it's 50, 40, 50, like it often gets, it's not a big deal.
The configuration that I use on all of my colonies, though, to go out and check the food, like, the ones that have the insulated inner cover, I just pull my outer cover off, look, that's really all I check right now. And like you said, I mean, if you're going to go out and you're going to mess with your colonies and it's cold outside, it's not like you're going out like it is in the middle of the summer. And if you want to just go and crack a hive open and you're going to look at it and pull frames and, try and find the queen or do whatever, at least that's what us hobbyist beekeepers do. You see what I did there?
So Greg, there's a couple things, guys, that we hear, location. I see some comments over here. And Greg, you always say context is
key. That's right.
So everybody's got to figure it out and do what works best. Yeah. And anyway, it's just something we were kind of brainstorming there a little bit. I don't know really what, down here, like I say, I get in them historically. I've gotten in them way more than I probably needed to.
How many commercial out yards are getting they're getting graded, they're getting checked, they're getting equalized, they're getting thrown on pallets, they're getting put onto a truck when it's 20 degrees after all the lids were just cracked, stacked, put on a truck, netted, and then they're seeing wind chills of who God knows what as they make their way south to hang out temporarily in a holding yard before they head out west.
Yeah,
I mean these bees are exposed to a lot more. It's easy to want to worry about them. And for good reason. There are certain times where, if you do some of the knucklehead stuff that we do in Ohio or down where Bruce is at, if you did that up in the Yukon somewhere, good Lord, maybe that would be, catastrophic. But I think context is key, and you just have to not be afraid to try some things that are outside of what you read or you heard to see what does work for you in your context, and then give you a solid point of reference for what you're actually working with,
Yeah, there's a guy up in Canada. I can't think of his name right now. I see his stuff on Facebook occasionally, but he builds these colonies. They're double deeps. He feeds them all winter. He doesn't put them in a shed, and they are packed to the gills. He keeps them super strong in the wintertime.
Wow.
And he takes the lid and he slides it over, and he feeds them in a in-hive feeder in the middle of the wintertime in Canada. And so there's snow on the ground, and so but you think about it. Is that the bees are, and I think he does have like a small upper entrance and everything for ventilation, but he raised. I'm gonna have to, if I see his stuff, I'll have to send you guys a picture of that. But it's just bees boiling out all winter, and then so he keeps them brooding, keeps them going all winter, and then man, when the flow hits, man, he stacks up. He'll get hundreds of pounds of honey off those colonies. But when you think about it, the feed, if you've got a box full of bees packed out in the wintertime, it's going to be pretty darn warm in there. And so they're going to keep the syrup warm enough to be able to eat it. And so, but man, when he opens those things up, you see where it does get warm enough, I guess, for them to do their flights. And you see some dead bees out there where they leave the colony, kind of like in Ian's shed, there's dead bees. It kind of happens some, but man, he just keeps them so strong. And it's in Canada. I can't remember. I don't know what part of Canada. I just have to look and see, but I wish I could remember his name. But man, he just, Triton. I think that's it. Rick Williams. Triton WR, and there says Rick. I think his name is Rick Williams. So if you go check out his Facebook stuff, he doesn't post very often, but when he does, it's pretty impressive usually.
Wow.
And so, golly, I thought I saw something I wanted to address on here, but anyway, it's fun though, guys. It's so much fun talking about this stuff, and I think we're kind of just in a holding pattern a little bit, just working on. Mike talks about menial tasks, things you got to do in the wintertime. It's just not as busy right now, especially if you're a hobbyist here in Alabama, or if you don't have a lot of commercial things you're trying to do. You just kind of got them ready and the weight's on them. I think it's probably that way pretty much everywhere in the country. Where now in Florida, they're still, I don't think they ever stop in South Florida. Down there, it never gets cold enough to really stop. I know that Tim Huffman, I think, was doing Queens like a couple of weeks ago still. And so, but he's down, I think, south of Tampa down there somewhere. And so, and that's where Cindy went. He's in a similar area where Cindy is, I think. I saw Cindy. She just got down there. They just unloaded their stuff down there, and so they're down there now. But it is context is key, and location is so important. That's why it's
Yeah.
important to tie into someone locally, or someone at least in your same region that can help you. If you're
Right.
newbie, if you're thinking about it, or if you're a newbie beekeeper, tie into someone who knows how to keep bees alive in your area. That'll help you out so much, help you avoid so many of the errors and problems that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you watch my video, but you're from Idaho, I mean, the bee basics are the same, but how you manage your colonies is going to be totally different.
Yep.
And vice versa. If you see someone in Hawaii managing bees, it's not going to be the same as Alaska. I mean, it's just different. And so you just got to remember
Everything. Everything's
Yeah.
gonna
that.
be
Even
different.
between you two guys, you're a couple hours apart from each other, but even you guys, there's a little bit of difference in the climate, and you guys are doing different things. And so you just got to kind of soak it in and then just do your own thing.
Yeah.
But it's so important to do that.
Yep.
And it is so regional, and I just can't emphasize that enough. I get people that get on my videos occasionally, and they just like, the trolls, so to speak. And but they might be from New York or from Wisconsin or somewhere. I'm like, look, this is Alabama, but they read a book and they think that everything they say in the book applies everywhere. And once again, the bee basics, the bee biology is the same. You got brood, you got queens, you got workers, and you have certain things that happen. You got beeswax, you got honey, but the way you manage all that just varies quite a bit. So,
Well,
fun stuff.
guys, it's getting close to 10. I know I'm not the only one, but there are some of us who have been tasked with probably the most difficult and challenging responsibilities of the season, and it's testing pumpkin pies.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I hate to
Just the season.
cut this short, but we
Oh.
really have to take one for the team and make sure the family is getting just the high
Yeah.
quality pies, pecan
Right.
pies and pumpkin pies and sugar pies, and I need to make sure I get an extra dose of insulin just talking about.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and I'm real thankful for all the folks who just are always here hanging out with us. Um, here at the farm, we talked about. I don't, we'll talk about it more another time. But we are just full on grading and getting this next building ready for concrete, so we can have more offerings for folks, get more folks in the door, get them in touch with some practical beekeeping education here at the Learning Yard. That's what we've got going on right now. We've even have some Black Friday sales that just started today. We've got nukes on sale. We also have wax dipped hive kits that have the brand new premier Pura hive bodies, Pura frames, Pura cell foundations with bees in them. So a lot of folks are apprehensive on, they want to get started in bees. They don't know if they need a nuke. They don't know if they need a package. They're kind of worried about getting them installed. So this year we're offering the opportunity for folks to pick either a package if they want it really early, or if they want one of our nukes a little bit later. But we're installing some bees in uh, these wax dip premier hive kits. Then all they do is take them home, open them up, and they're good to go. So if you're interested in, if you want to support Nature's Image Farm, if you want to check out our Black Friday sales, we've got nukes on sale for $185, and we have the wax dipped hive kits featuring the Premier Bee products, Pura hive bodies, Pura frames, Pura cell foundation with bees for $465, and of course free hands-on learning for all of our military veterans and our nuke and package customers. Nature'simagefarm.com if you want to find out more. And I appreciate everyone, all the shares, and everyone sharing those posts and helping bring folks to our door. I really do appreciate that.
Awesome.
I'd like to, say once again with Thanksgiving and all, I'm so grateful for this past year. The bee thing has really, the stream team here has really helped me in so many ways just to develop a friendship with so many people that are in this stream right here with you guys. I mean, I really feel like you guys are just great friends. And, a year ago, I was just beginning to kind of even find out who you guys were. And so it's pretty awesome that it's turned into this. And it's not only just, we've got almost 100 people on here now. We had more on here earlier, and it's Thanksgiving Eve here, and people have been willing to hang out with us for a while. But I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the bugs in the box. Grateful for the, Greg, you talk about how it's the conduit to the people, for all the people we've been able to meet, and personally and through YouTube and through this stream. And
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Most of all grateful for family and for this country and for the Lord and for all that He's done for me. And so I really appreciate. There's so much to be grateful for right now, and can't even begin to put it into words. And what a year it's been. And man, I'm so excited about the future. This past week I've just been having brainstorms of like things to do with the channel, things to do with the bees. It's been crazy. I've been putting out these Stream Team nuggets and talking to you guys. Got the logo together, and I'm just stoked about what the future holds. It's exciting to me. So,
Bruce, you're in high gear.
I am, man. I just downshifted and just hit it, man. I'm going.
Yeah.
But I can't burn myself out. I just actually got a new computer here. I'm trying to figure out how to use this thing, and so I can maybe do a better, more efficient quality, with my video editing and stuff. And so I'm kind of I'm excited. I got some ideas that hopefully it'll help move things forward, and I just love it. And I appreciate you guys, and it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to figuring out what we're going to do. Brian, show that logo one more time. We got to show folks.
Oh man,
figuring out what we're going to do with this thing.
I know.
And hey, if you guys have any questions for future live streams, let one of us know. If you have any questions you'd like me to address on my channel, I'm sure Greg and Brian feel the same way. Just let me know. I'm trying to really figure out how to.
There it is.
How to really get good content that people want to see. Yep. So there it is, guys. More to come, but it's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna key in that video, but I tell you, Greg, I'm gonna probably do the same thing tomorrow that you're doing. So I'm always tasked in tasting the pumpkin pie. So,
oh man,
pumpkin pie is my most favorite. I mean, it's the tops. My mom will bake me my own pumpkin pie.
Oh man,
I have so much pumpkin pie. So, but
how everybody get any better than that? A pot of coffee, a pumpkin pie. I mean, come on.
What more could I want?
What more could you ask for in this life?
Man, you guys are gonna think I'm crazy. I don't care for pumpkin pie that much.
Okay, turn this thing off. I'm out.
Yeah. I'll eat it, but what I like is what my favorite pie is Toll House. Some people call it Kentucky pie, Toll House pie. Have you ever had that before?
No. What is it?
It's like pecan pie with chocolate chips in it.
Ooh,
to me, it's one of the best things on the planet. So that's my favorite pie. I love that stuff. Oh my gosh, I could eat. I could eat so much of that stuff. But I do like pumpkin pie. Okay, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is the Kentucky pie or the we call it Toll House pie. So.
Just when we thought you were a real American hero,
I know.
You just pull off this pumpkin pie ain't for me.
I should have just kept my mouth.
Now, have you ever had? Oh, I've got one. Craziest pie I've ever had. Sauerkraut pie.
Oh, that doesn't sound good to me.
It's actually super good. Little known fact.
On that note,
interesting.
I am going to hit this video. But everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats. That's really appreciated. Have a just safe Thanksgiving. Enjoy that time with family, friends. I could go on and on and on for what I'm thankful for. But, everybody just have an awesome and happy Thanksgiving. So until the next one.
I guess it'll be on Bruce's Bees next week. Is that right? On my channel?
Is it Bruce's?
I think so.
We're all going to be in sweatpants, our big eating sweating pants. I'm just going to be all just gorged out from Thanksgiving.
Still, a week from now. All right,
I'm going to be hitting the mouse like this.
Oh boy.